Welcome to Leezah's Lair. I'm glad that you clicked on this video. And Leezah's Lair is a topical channel. Sometimes I go to events and tell you what's happening at the event. The avatar in front of you is LeezahSmiles. I hope that you'll feel free to comment below if there are topics you'd like for me to cover. Of course, my audience are the older adults in Second Life, since I am one of the older adults in Second Life. So now that I've gotten into that intro, today's video is about bad advice that you received as a noob. Put those comments below. What is some of the bad advice that you got as a noob that you didn't realize was bad advice, but now that you've been in Second Life for a while, you realize that wasn't really accurate advice. It was probably that person's perspective and they were genuinely sharing it. But now that you've had some experience in Second Life, you realize that's not advice that you would pass on. Comment below and let me know what those things are. Educate some people who may visit this channel who may be relatively new. For me, number one bad advice that I received in Second Life and that I continue to hear is that when people join Second Life, the first thing they need to do is focus on their avatar appearance, focus on setting up their avatar. That is not what they need to do first. They can if they want, but that's not mandatory. I'm one of the older adults in Second Life. I know several people who've been in Second Life for months and months, and they still have the Second Life avatar that they started with when they created the account. Nobody cares. We're not in junior high school. In junior high school, what somebody looked like, what their shoes were like, what their jeans were like, what their book bag looked like, what their parents drove them to school in terms of the make and model of the car, all that stuff mattered when we were about 12 and 13. We're adults here. Nobody cares. If you want to use the Second Life avatars, use them. If you want to do more to your avatar, that's fine too. I'm just saying that that is not mandatory once you register for an account and enter Second Life. That's all I'm saying. Number two, the assumption that Second Life is a game. It's a social media platform. I do refer to it as a game because I hear that terminology used, but it's really a social media platform because everybody who comes into Second Life isn't here to role play. There are role play sims. I don't think I've ever been to one in the 8 years I've been in Second Life. So there are role play sims. So people are coming in here to play a character, to invent a character, 10-year-old child, a beast, a creature. You know, there are those people who do come into Second Life. They're creating a character and they're going to Sims intentionally where they can role play that character. However, a huge percentage of people are not in Second Life at role play Sims. I'm not rare in terms of being someone who's been in Second Life for several years and has never been part of role play sim communities. Now, there are games to play in Second Life. I've played chess, I've played cheesy, I've played backgammon. So, from that standpoint, you can come into this virtual space and play board games, card games, things like that. You can do combat sims. There, where you can, I guess they're shooting each other and finding each other. I don't know. I haven't been to a combat sim, but there are sims where you can play games. So I don't want to confuse anyone about that. I think number three, in terms of the list of bad advice, is sometimes when people are trying to explain Second Life to new people, they're explaining it from their own lens of how they experience Second Life. So I came into Second Life, and there are some people that all they do is go to clubs and all they do is shop. And so that's what they're showing new people. That's what they're telling people that Second Life is. However, there are established professionals in Second Life. They're holding conferences. There are professors in Second Life. They are giving lectures on topics that they're passionate about. There are social issue sims where people gather and they work and discuss how to address some of these issues. And they talk about their work on those issues away from virtual spaces, and they discuss different things about how these issues are being approached. And there are actually social justice sims, there are political sims, things like that. And so I've often talked to people who've been in Second Life for years and years and said, gee, I didn't know that there was an annual conference for teachers in Second Life. Gee, I didn't know that there was a conference where people in their 40s, 50s, 60s are mainly attending, which is the MOOC series. And they say things like that to me. And all I can think of is, well, all you do in Second Life most of the time is play with your avatar and shop, which is fine if that's what they like to do. But there's other things happening. That's my point. I would encourage anyone who is sharing Second Life with people to hone in on what that person is interested in. If you're somebody who just likes to, party in Second Life, that's fine. If you're somebody who whatever you like to do is totally fine. But what I'm saying is when you're introducing other people to Second Life, find out what their interests are. Research for them. Find groups if they're into specific issues. Find groups that are actually active. It takes some time to find active discussion groups and Second Life. And so find out some things. Do some pre-research just so that you can give them a note card that says, these are the names of the groups that you can join. Here's the links to those group joins. Here's the landmark to those Sims so that they can actually be part of a community. If you're just focusing on, oh, now that you're in Second Life and you've registered, let's spend all this time fixing up your avatar, that's not going to keep anybody interested, in my opinion, in being really a part of this community. This is a community where people actually get to know each other. Some people have formed lifelong friendships. Someone I knew for in Second Life for several years died this year, and a relative of that person was in Second Life and told me that that person had died. I knew that person had some medical issues in the past year, but that person did contact me, who I did not know, identified themselves as a relative, and said that that they were with that person, in the last few days of that person's life, and that person mentioned certain people that they knew in Second Life and wanted those people that they had known in Second Life to know that they didn't make it and that they had passed on. So I'm just saying that to say there are really substantial friendships that you can make in this space if you're not coming here as a superficial person or with a superficial mentality. You can make some solid friendships here. Years ago, I used to go to a sim where people were sharing their poetry, and some people loved poetry, but they were embarrassed away from the keyboard to just go to a place and share it publicly. But they would jump on voice and they would share their poetry, and some of it was poetry that was so beautiful they should be publishing books actually, and but they had a fear of getting in front of a group of people. And some people are like that with their singing or with their piano playing, and that's one thing that's wonderful about Second Life is that people can go live with their instrument and share it with anybody who wants to listen, and sometimes they get feedback that they've never heard before because they were too embarrassed to play the piano at a recital publicly, in their own city, or they were too embarrassed to go to a poetry jam in their own city. And so those are the things that I like people to understand about this virtual space. And I think when people focus on the superficial aspect of Second Life, the parties, what your avatar looks like, what your avatar dress is like, when they focus on the superficial, they're not really sharing some of the meaningful things that go on. The other bad advice that I'd say that I got was that a lot of people were focusing on just the sexual culture in Second Life, and that culture does exist, but I've never been into any type of cartoon porn. That has never been an interest of mine. I know plenty of people that has never been an interest of theirs either. So I think that when people say that that's a big aspect of Second Life, they're not lying about it. It is in Second Life, and people are making a lot of money in those sex worker industries and things like that. But at the same time, there are tons of people here who have never exposed themselves to it. They're just not interested in it. The other thing that I would say is good advice, but it can also be bad advice, is a lot of times when I was new to Second Life, people were giving warnings about, oh, be very careful in Second Life. There's a lot of seedy people here, and there's a lot of people who have mental illness here. There are people with mental illness in Second Life. They probably talk about it more openly than what you would hear about away from a keyboard. But I think that the same smart, mature vetting process that you use away from the keyboard when encountering somebody on the street is the same thing that you would use here in this space. My point is that this environment doesn't have a higher percentage of deviant people, in my opinion, than you find walking out in your world away from the keyboard at the grocery store, at the post office, just going about your daily life. Pamela Cliff talks about in her lecture about Second Life is that some people are more immersive than others in this space. Some people feel that their avatar becomes them, and everything that happens to their avatar is happening to them personally, and they have an emotional reaction to that. And that's real for them. But she was saying that everybody has a different level of how immersed they are when they're in a virtual space. And I think that when people give advice about Second Life and about the experience of Second Life, sometimes they can give bad advice to people if they are not taking into account the fact that people have different levels of being immersive in this space, and that the way that they're immersive in this space doesn't mean everybody else is going to be, or everyone else is, or everyone else should be. So that's my list. Comment below and give me yours. Thank you for watching this video. Hopefully you'll be part of this discussion. I think it's a good topic.